Right now, if you turned off every screen in your house, muted every notification, and sat in total silence for 15 minutes, something strange would happen. Your mind would start screaming for noise. You'd assume this is a modern problem, a side effect of too much scrolling and too many notifications. But the real answer is far stranger. Your discomfort with silence is ancient, wired into the oldest survival circuits in your brain, long before screens ever existed. In 2014, psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia asked people to sit alone in an empty room for just 6 to 15 minutes. No phone, no book, nothing to do but think. Most people hated it. Many rated it as unpleasant as a mild electric shock. Some chose to shock themselves rather than sit with their own thoughts. Why would an empty room feel threatening? Picture an early human at the edge of a forest. The wind stops. The birds stop calling. The insects go quiet too. For you, that might sound peaceful. For your ancestor, it was a 5-alarm warning. Sudden silence in the wild almost always meant one thing. A predator was near, moving through the territory, and every other creature had already gone still. The ancestors who tensed up at quiet survived. The ones who relaxed into it often didn't. Over hundreds of thousands of years, that instinct got burned into the brain's architecture. Silence became a trigger, not for calm, but for vigilance. This is where the amygdala comes in. Think of it as your brain's alarm system. It doesn't care whether you're in a forest 200,000 years ago or on your couch tonight. Unexplained quiet still reads as a possible threat. But there's a second piece. Neuroscientist Marcus Rachel at Washington University found that when you stop focusing on a task, your brain doesn't power down. A network called the default mode network switches on, replaying memories, surfacing worries. The moment outside noise disappears, this inner noise gets louder. So a quiet room isn't empty. It's full of everything you normally drown out. So what did ancient humans actually do about this? They didn't sit and stew. They filled the quiet with rhythm. Across nearly every culture studied, from hunter-gatherer societies to early settlements, communal drumming and chanting around fires shows up again and again. Group rhythm synchronizes heart rates. It tells the amygdala the threat has passed, the group is safe. Now think about what you do instead. Alone in your room, with no fire circle and no tribe chanting in unison, your brain reaches for the nearest substitute. A phone. A podcast playing while you fall asleep. A show humming in the background while you cook dinner. It's not weakness. It's the same ancient instinct, just rerouted through a screen instead of a campfire. Here's where it gets stranger. Psychologist Sherry Turkle at MIT found that people often reach for their phones the instant a silence opens in conversation, even when nothing is wrong. You're not bored. Some old part of your brain reads the gap as something to fill immediately, the same way your ancestor's brain once read a silent forest. There's an irony here. The exact mechanism that kept your ancestors alive now makes it hard for you to enjoy a quiet evening, fall asleep without background noise, or sit through a meditation app without reaching for your phone. Your brain hasn't caught up to the fact that silence rarely means danger anymore. It just means nobody's talking. But there's a flip side. Researchers studying brain activity have found that extended quiet periods are linked to new neuron growth in regions tied to memory and learning. Silence isn't just an absence of stimulation. It can be an active state that helps the brain repair and consolidate, the mental equivalent of letting a muscle rest so it can rebuild stronger than before. That's the twist. You've only understood half of silence. Yes, it once meant danger, but your brain, given the chance, also uses silence to heal, to lower stress, to finish processing the day instead of spiraling through it unresolved. So the next time a room goes quiet and your hand twitches towards your phone, you're not broken. You're running software built for a forest that no longer exists, guarding against a predator that isn't there. Your ancestors filled their silence with fire and each other. You have something they never had: the choice to sit in the quiet on purpose, knowing exactly why it feels uncomfortable and choosing to stay anyway. Because the silence was never actually empty. Not in a forest 200,000 years ago, and not in your living room tonight. It's full of an old alarm doing its job too well and a healing process underneath it, waiting patiently for you to finally let it finish.